tour guide and first week for today. More importantly though, to my right, your left, we have the very lovely, the very talented Captain Charlotte, if you want to say hello, or a round of applause, definitely. Now for safety reasons, I do have to tell you, oh, thank you. We do have life jackets and life rings in the back of the boat. We also have a life raft on top. We have never had to use any of these in the history of our company. We're not planning on starting today, so don't worry. You guys are all perfectly safe. So we're going to start this tour by heading westward down the harbourfront. And today our harbourfront, it looks really nice. Yes, we are going to see islands. No, it used to be really, really industrial down here. There used to be tons of factories down here on the harbourfront. There was lots of pollution in this water. So what they did is in the 70s, they started a revitalization project. They kicked out all of those polluting factories. They started renovating some of the buildings that were already here. So this first building off on the right, this beige building with the green glass, this is called the Queen's Quay Terminal. When it was first built, it was used for cold and dry storage. They spent about $60 million renovating this one. If you go inside today, there's different shops, restaurants, a grocery store, an Inuit art gallery, lots of office space. The top 4 floors that are all green glass, those are condos. Now to the left of the Queen's Quay Terminal, we have another relic from the past. We have this red brick building with the smokestack that says "More Than Enough." This is called the power plant. Can anyone guess what the power plant used to function as? Very close. It's not a trick question, exactly. It was a power plant. But if you go inside today, it has been renovated. You'll find modern contemporary art exhibits. Is anyone on board a fan of modern art? One person? Oh, 3 people? 3 more than usual? Okay. It's free. It's open every day of the week except for Mondays. You can also go inside next door where it says Harbourfront Centre. They do have artists on display there, so people doing stuff like glass blowing, woodworking, pottery making. Really cool to watch. Also, Harbourfront Centre hosts a ton of events throughout the summer. A lot of cultural festivals, especially where you can come, listen to the music, taste the food. Lots of events on the WestJet stage, which is part of the Harbourfront Centre. On Wednesday nights, they have movie nights down here. So they'll actually set up a screen right on that stage. Anyone can come watch whatever movie they're playing. Also, Thursday nights, they have what's called Dancing on the Pier. So you can come learn how to salsa, merengue, tango, that kind of stuff. Always free, always a lot of fun. Now next to the WestJet stage, we have this white bridge here with the red banner on it. This bridge was given to us by the Dutch royal family as a thanks for harboring them here during World War II while they were in exile. More recently, has anyone seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Yes. Yes. Probably a little bit old, but it's a really good movie. If you've seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding, you've seen this bridge before. That's where the couple in that movie shares their very first kiss. It's the romantic portion of our tour right here. That leads over to the Amsterdam Brew House. That's a restaurant that opened just last summer, so completely unrelated to the Amsterdam Canal Bridge. As you can see, nice waterfront patios. They do have a microbrewery inside, so you can do tours of that. They're usually free, you get a free sample. They have 35 different kinds of beer, 28 on tap. Definitely a very, very safe place to go. Reason for that being that it is right next to our Marine Police Station. That building with the green roof there and the 90-foot watchtower, that's a Marine Police. You may be wondering why it's not the Coast Guard. We do have a Coast Guard as well, but Canada has the longest discontinuous coastline in the world. So our Coast Guard is spread pretty thin. Our closest Coast Guard station is 3 hours away in Prescott, Ontario, which is not too convenient if we were to have an emergency down here. Take them a long time to get here. So that's why we also trained our local police on some very high-speed boats. They say they can get to anywhere in this harbour or the islands in just 2 minutes. So very, very fast. That being said, nothing exciting ever happens down here. Usually just people running out of gas, getting a tow back to shore. Occasional speeding tickets. Now you can see the CN Tower from here. It's not the best view though. You'll have a much better view on the second half of the tour when we're farther away. When we're leaving the islands, you'll have a really nice view of the skyline. So I'll talk about the CN Tower then. I will talk about the Rogers Centre though, right next door. Does anyone know what the Rogers Centre used to be called? Sky Dome, exactly. So it used to be called the Sky Dome, pretty accurate name. As you can see right now, it is open to the sky. So the roof can revolve around in about 20 minutes. That is a very good question. What do they do in the Rogers Centre? Well, we have a lot of games here. It's home to our baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays. We have a lot of football games here as well. Our team is called the Argonauts. Lots of concerts here too. Now, our highest record attendance, the most people that were ever in the Rogers Centre at once, was 68,000 people. Those people came to see WrestleMania 18. If you're not familiar with WrestleMania, that's big wrestling. This one was Hulk Hogan versus Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Our second highest record attendance is WrestleMania 6. Third place right now is Justin Bieber. Not the best track record. Up here on the right, you can see the first of our islands. Yes, you can see a plane on it here, right? This is an airport. So this is Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. Has anyone ever flown out of this one or into this one? A couple of people, yeah. Our big airport here, not technically in Toronto, but people consider the Toronto airport as Pearson International. This one only has 2 commercial airlines that fly out of it. We have Air Canada Express, which goes exclusively to Montreal. We also have the Border Airlines. Those ones go to a number of different cities. You can actually see one about to take off on the other side of the island. That one's part of Border Airlines. So mostly goes to Canadian cities. You can go to the States as well though. You can go to Boston, New York, Chicago, places like that. Now, the runway on this island is really, really short. So bigger planes, they're not capable of making this landing in time, which is why the biggest plane that you'll find flying out of here can only hold about 70 people, which is less than this boat, to give you some perspective. So they're pretty small. Now, even these planes, when they're coming into land, they have to get really close to the water to be able to stop on time. Now, it's not hard to imagine that low-flying planes and tall-masted ships are not a good combination. We had to learn that the hard way. Back in 1941, we had one of our ferries. It was too close to the island. Visibility was really poor. A small plane taking off actually crashed into the ferry. Very terrible situation. That plane sank to the bottom of the harbor, as well as both pilots on board. They did recover the plane. It's not really deep. It's about 30 feet here, so they did recover the plane. Unfortunately, there were only 2 pilots on board, and neither one of them made it. Yeah. So there were no passengers on board. There was just the 2 pilots. It was a really small plane. It can actually only seat 2 people. But that's why we're going around these white buoys here. We're not going inside this area. We're not getting too close to the island, just because we don't want a situation like that happening ever again. The island is right there, but this one's man-made. The one with all of the planes on it, that's an island. But also on the left here, you can see all of the rest of the islands. There's actually 15 islands in total. Now there is a little bit of controversy right now. As I said, bigger planes aren't capable of landing here because the runway is so short. So they want to extend this runway. They want to make the island bigger. That way bigger planes could come and land here. The problem with that being that bigger planes, more planes, that usually means more noise pollution. So people living here on the waterfront, really not too happy about that. So there's a lot of protests going on right now to try and prevent that from happening. So we'll see if it goes through. But the rest of the islands that you can see all up here on the left, and these all formed after our last ice age. So they're very, very old. They used to be connected to the city of Toronto, but several storms severed that connection. Only way to get to these islands today is by boat, like we're doing right now. There's no bridges, there's no underground tunnels that people can walk through. They're actually building an underground tunnel right now. It's just not done yet, but very soon you'll be able to go through the underground tunnel and get to the islands. So we used to have a lot of Aboriginal tribes out here on the islands that would perform various rituals. They never actually permanently lived out here on the islands. They would kind of just meet here on the islands. So it wasn't until the mid-1800s that we actually had a family come and permanently settle here. That family was an Irish family by the name of the Hanlons. You're Irish? Maybe these are your ancestors. Maybe these are your ancestors? So that's why the first island off here on the right is called Hanlon's Point, as named after them. Now, back then when they settled here, they actually turned this into the entertainment district of Toronto. So they had a lot of buildings built out here: bars, casinos, hotels, large amusement park, a stadium that could seat 10,000 people. There's even a diving horse exhibit out here, as strange as that sounds. You can see pictures of that in the Queen's Quay terminal. They had a large wooden contraption, and two horses would walk up to the top and then plunge nose first into very shallow water, supposedly willingly. I have my doubts about that one. You will not find that out here today. But these islands were really, really popular in the 1920s. You had a lot of Americans coming down here. Can anyone guess why Americans would come here in the 1920s? Alcohol, exactly. So back in the 1920s, they made it illegal for people to produce, distribute, or consume alcohol. So you couldn't have alcohol back then. Here in Ontario, though, our politicians, our doctors, they thought that whiskey was medicinal, so you could actually get that down here. So we had a lot of Americans coming to these islands for whiskey. Now, as you can see though, as we're going through these islands, these buildings, they're not out here anymore. The reason for that is because after Prohibition ended, we faced the Great Depression, World War II. So we weren't getting nearly as many tourists out here. A lot of places went out of business. Then in 1954, we got hit very badly by a hurricane. That destroyed a lot of the buildings that were left out here. So the government stepped in, they converted what was left into park space. So the islands now, they're mostly park space. They're mostly a lot of grass and trees and picnic tables like you can see up here on the right. Is anyone on board a fan of baseball? Quite a few people? Okay. We used to have a baseball stadium that was right here near the water. Now we had a really, really famous baseball player. His name was Babe Ruth. He hit his very first professional home run out of the stadium that was here. Now I'm telling you this because, as I said, he got really, really famous. But when he hit that ball, he wasn't famous yet. So no one ever actually went looking for that ball that he hit. They say it landed in the water that we're going over right now, Blockhouse Bay. If someone were to find that ball today, it would be worth over $1 million. Anyone want to jump in the water? I have some bad news for you guys. That was 100 years ago. That ball is not here anymore. It disintegrated. I'm sorry. We're also not allowed to swim in these channels. So inside the islands, there's a lot of boat traffic. It's really not safe for people to be swimming here. But we do have public beaches out here on the islands. They face Lake Ontario, so we won't be passing them today. which trust me is a good thing, because right on the other side of Hamlet's Point, the beach that we have there is called Hamlet's Point Clothing Optional Beach. So we do have a public nude beach out here. Yeah, trust me when I say you don't want to go there. To the beach that's there. People don't wear clothes there. Yeah, you don't want to go there.
You mean we're not going there?
If you look up on the left, though, Captain Charlotte was nice enough to slow down the boat. You can actually see the skyline from within the islands, which is a pretty cool shot. Yeah, I know. So don't worry if you didn't get the perfect picture. We have a much longer skyline viewing opportunity on the second half of the tour once we leave the islands.